Hey there, today I'm going to talk about the best practices in terms of backing up your site and how to build a solid routine to ensure that your site is always secured. WordPress security is always a balancing act between security and usability. The more open and easy you make the site to access, the less secure that the site becomes. So all this to state that we can understand that even if we do everything that we need to do to provide better WordPress security, sometimes stuff happens. Sometimes a WordPress site is compromised, though no fault of yours. For example, your WordPress site may be on a shared hosting account, and another WordPress site on the same shared hosting account, which never updates their site, becomes compromised or gets hacked. Now, the person that has hacked the site can now gain access to that server, which they can now attack other secure WordPress sites like yours. So, what can be done about this? Well, first thing is having regularly scheduled backups are probably the best ways to prevent it from happening, but more importantly, recover if it does happen. Whether this issue is an actual compromise of your site or just a server issue with faulty hardware, a backup being available is something that you can use to restore and doesn't take very long in order to do that. While we back up a minimum of once a day for most of our clients, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day, we highly recommend you to do at least once a week or before each time you make an update to your site. One of the biggest common mistakes that I've seen, people believe that their web hosting provider already has backups. We have had clients prior to coming to us where they've lost their entire site because their web hosting companies have made backups for them, and they're sold on these packages that says, backups. They did, mind you, but the issue is that most, if not all, hosting companies save their backups where the website is stored. Meaning, if your web host goes down, or you forget to pay your bills, or your whole server gets hacked, so does your backup. So be extremely cautious of that when you are signing up for services that have backup. I always definitely recommend at least run your own backup just to be safe. And if you run a backup, save it to the cloud or anywhere that is not on your current server. Another common mistake that I see people do is that they only back up the website files. A lot of people just use the FTP, download all those files on a server, but WordPress is a two-part system. There are files on the server and there are databases. You need to have both to make WordPress fully functional. So when you back up, make sure you back up the WordPress files and the WordPress database. Unfortunately, there are no free plugins that are good out there without significant downsides. Back WP Up, I believe, is a plugin that has great backup options but no restore options, but it's free. Anything that's good is usually paid. Here are some of the recommended backup plugins that you can probably use if you are not on our support service already. Backup Buddy, 80 bucks a year. VaultPress is about 30 bucks a month. Now that you have things, backed up, you need to ensure that you do this routinely. Not only backups, but updates too, because one of the easiest way to create an unsafe and unsecure WordPress environment is simply not to update the WordPress core or any of the plugins or themes. Majority of all updates for security patches and code fixes are for the plugins, are for the themes, and are for the core. So make sure you check often. Best practice that I've seen done is to set kind of a reminder. While our team checks daily for these backups and for our clients, you may not have the time to do this. But checking once a week is a must. So what has worked for me in the past, like I said before, is that I added a 30-minute recurring task in my calendar, say every Monday or Tuesday. Reasons because you may have a designer or a developer or an agency that's working on your site. So you want to make sure you time your updates um, when they're, in the office because you definitely don't want the site to go down, no one to support it, right? So set a reminder to check the WordPress administrator dashboard to perform more updates. And again, make sure you back it up before you do so. Whenever there is an update for a plugin or a theme, you should also check the change log by visiting the plugin's developer's website to see what was updated in that version. Sometimes you may find that a major release, or you may notice features that they've updated that could potentially change what you have developed for your site, especially if you custom developed or modified any of the plugins or themes. So double check after each time you update that the your site is working, and that you also want to look over the changelog to ensure that the stuff they're changing probably wouldn't affect your site directly. Updating routine is key. So if your WordPress is out of date, then everything I've suggested previously, all the WordPress security suggestions are essentially useless. Thank you for watching, and you now have all the tools and resources to take repeatable actions in order to protect your website.